Have you ever wondered why so many businesses don't really make a lot of money? It's amazing how few businesses do $100,000 a year in revenue. It's amazing how few businesses do $1 million a year, even fewer 10 million, fewer than that, 15, 20, $100 million. And one of the reasons people think that that's the case is because they think the bigger the number it gets, the harder it is to make that amount of money or to generate that amount of revenue in a business. But the reality is, the bigger the number gets, the easier it gets to generate that revenue. So today, I'm going to talk to you about business skills that can make millions. A few weeks ago, I did a video on skills that make you millions. Well, they were personal skills. Now we're going to talk about business skills. And so as we're talking about the business skills, I'm going to write some on the board. I would recommend highly that you take as many notes as you can, but more importantly than taking notes on what I'm about to show you, if you take action on it, it will change your life for sure. So here we go. The first skill is product innovation. So this is a business skill, product innovation. Now, I want you to notice I said product innovation. I didn't just say innovation. Why is that? Well, because there are only two types of businesses in the world. There's a business that sells a service, there's a business that sells a product. If you start a business that sells a service, you have already limited the amount of wealth you can generate, because when you sell a service, it requires time to fulfill it. Time is something we have in limited supply, so if you desire to create wealth in business, you must figure out a way to disconnect your revenue generation from time. So that's why I said product innovation. Why? Because if I paint houses and I can paint 3 houses a week and I get paid $9,000 every time I paint a house, the most I can generate is $27,000 a week. $27,000 a week sounds like a lot of money if I'm generating $2,700 a week. But if you're already generating $27,000 a week, and you've got payroll, and you've got business expenses, and you have no time, now $27,000 a week doesn't feel like that much money. How many of y'all tracking? So what I'd rather do is I would rather sell a product, because if I sell a product, i.e. a book, if I sell a book, right? That's not what a book looks like. It's almost what a book looks like, right? So if I sell a book for $30, it takes no longer to sell 100 books than it does to sell one. In fact, my biggest book sale ever, I sold a company in 2008, 100,000 From the Trash Man to the Cash Man books. And that sale only took 15 minutes, and it generated $400,000 in revenue in 15 minutes. How many of y'all think that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool, right? So if I sell a product, products help me disconnect my revenue generation from time. And if I disconnect my revenue generation from time, I can make more money. So product innovation. Now, when I innovate a product, I have to create a product the marketplace values, not a product that I value. And it has to be a product that the marketplace has an appetite for, even if the marketplace doesn't know it has that appetite. That's why sometimes it's a good idea to do what do they call it? A study where feasibility study, that market survey. The name of it's not coming to me, but we'll call it a feasibility study and a market survey, since you came up with that, and I like both of those. Okay, so we don't do those. We don't ask our clients what products to create. We just observe the marketplace, observe their pain points, observe the pleasure they're seeking but they're not finding, and then we create products to fill those holes. So when you're doing product innovation, the products that you innovate should have at least these 3 qualities. Number 1, it should be something that's desirable. Now, desirable, a lot of beginning entrepreneurs struggle because they think desirable means creating a product they desire to create. Wrong answer, but we do have some nice consolation prizes for you in the back. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about creating something the marketplace desires, not something you desire them to desire. I just want to write a book because I want to tell my story. Nobody cares about your story. Nobody wants to read it. Nobody. I'm just going to tell you right now, nobody wants to read your story. The only person who's going to buy your book when you write a story about a book about your story is your mom, and she doesn't want to read it. She's just buying it to help you out because she's your mom. She doesn't want to read it because then she has to relive the whole thing all over again, and it wasn't that much fun for her the first time. So don't write a book about your story. Write a book that has solutions that the marketplace desires. It needs to be desirable. And one of the things that will make it desirable if it has value. If you make sure the product has value. Now, everybody talks about value, but very few people tell you where value comes from. So I'm going to tell you what causes other people to value things that you create. Everybody ready? Let me hear you say I'm ready. Okay, so number one, past perceived voids create present pursued values. What does that mean? If you grow up without something, but you felt like that thing was something you always desired, when you become an adult, one of the first things you do when you get a job and you make money is you fill those past perceived voids, because that's something you value, and you value it because it was missing in the past. That's one of the reasons we value things. So if you can find a large group of people that have one thing missing in the past, and you create that thing for them, you can get very rich in a relatively short period of time. So that's one. Past perceived voids create present pursued values. The other one is present perceived virtues create present pursued values. What does that mean? That means when I perceive something as good right now, I am going to pursue it. It's so amazing to me, like if I go in McAllister's on Boy Scout Boulevard in Tampa, which the food is great, if I go in there, it's almost never full. Almost never full. It's been full a couple of times, but it's almost never full. The food's great. Food's very inexpensive. Right across the street, like you can walk out of McAllister's and take 23 steps and you'll be inside Eddie V's, Prime Seafood. And Eddie V's, when you go there, it's $75 to $125 a plate, and I've never seen it empty. It's always full. Why? Because present perceived virtues create present pursued values. When somebody perceives something as being something that's really, really good, people will line up out the door, around the building, cash in hand, ready to pay. So past perceived voids, present perceived virtues, and future pursued visions. Think about how many millions and billions and trillions of dollars a year people spend on college educations. Because they have this vision that when I get this degree, this piece of paper to hang on my wall, what I'm going to be able to do is I'll be able to get a job that'll pay me enough money so I can pay off these loans and I can have the life I've always dreamed of. And then they find out after they go through all of that and spend all that money for that future pursued vision that it doesn't work like that. And they have a college degree and now they have to go get a job at Eddie V's so they can make enough money to pay their college loans. That's real talk, okay? So it needs to be desirable. Those are three things that can create value that make your offer desirable, or your product that you've innovated desirable. Number two, it needs to be, letter B, it needs to be measurable. It's so interesting. I talk to people who have businesses all the time, and I ask them what they do, and they'll give me this drunkalogue. They'll go into this big, long dissertation of word salad, and when they get done, I still have no idea what they do. How many of y'all have experienced that, right? Well, what we do is we promulgate our esoteric cogitations and articulate our super. Stop, bro. I don't even know what you're talking about, right? And so it needs to be measurable. What does measurable mean? When they buy your product that you've innovated that they desire, there needs to be a seriously measurable difference between before they bought your product and after they bought your product. The promise of your product needs to have a measurable beginning and a measurable end, and the gap in between needs to be big. The bigger the gap, the more you can charge for it. The bigger the measurement, the greater the transformation, the more you can charge for the product. Okay, so it needs to be desirable, it needs to be measurable, and then lastly, it needs to be statable. What does statable mean? It needs to be statable in a sound bite. What does that mean? You need to figure out how to say what you do for people in a way that you can say it in a sentence. I like what Einstein said. He said, if I can't explain a concept to an intelligent 12-year-old, I don't understand it. How many of y'all tracking? So, and by the way, I did a video on that whole concept about how to talk better, called Think Like a Genius, Talk Like a Third Grader. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. Okay, so product innovation is number one. Okay, so that's the first business skill that you have to develop. And so when you develop that business skill, the next thing you have to do after product innovation, skill number two, in fact, I'm going to give myself a whole new sheet of blackboard, okay, is revenue generation. A lot of people struggle here. This is one of the easiest aspects of business if you develop the skills. And How many people are there in the world who don't like selling? There are lots of people who don't like selling. Well, here's the conclusion I came to a long time ago. There's only one alternative to selling, that's buying. Now, when I'm buying, I'm giving you my money. When I'm selling, you're giving me yours. So people who hate to sell can't get rich because they only like to buy. Now, I love to buy, but I also love to sell. I like it going in both directions. And so revenue generation, one of the things that will make you better at generating revenue in your business and better at selling is if you become a better buyer. Because everything reproduces after its own kind. When you go to the grocery store, not the grocery store, the shoe store, and the shoe salesman comes up and says, or the saleswoman comes up and says, "Can I help you?" And you say, "No, I'm just looking." You're probably not ever going to be good at sales. And the reason you're not going to be good at sales is because you don't want somebody treating you like you treat salespeople. And you never even thought of that before. But because you're not a good buyer, you don't have the ability to attract good buyers because you think there's something inherently wrong with selling. I just changed somebody's life. So revenue generation. Revenue generation includes, but is not limited to, promotion. What is promotion? Promotion is two things. It's either advertising. Now, if you're going to do advertising, advertising means you spend somebody else to take your message to the you pay somebody else to send your message to the masses. So you pay somebody who has the ears of other people, has the attention of other people. You pay the person who has attention so that they cause their audience to pay attention to you. That's advertising, right? You spend money for that. When you spend money for that, if you're going to spend money, my recommendation would be don't do top of the mind awareness advertising. Don't do name recognition advertising. Do direct response advertising. Direct response advertising, what does that mean? That means I am paying money for this ad to initiate a direct response in the people who read it, hear it, or see it. What is that direct response? Well, preferably, it would be that they buy something from you, and ideally, the thing they buy from you should cover the cost of the ad. That's what we call in business an SLO, self-liquidating offer. Right? You pay for ads, you pay, if you can break even on an SLO, a self-liquidating offer, you can make money because most novice business owners, because they need to make money, they think the purpose of making a sale is to generate revenue. That's not the purpose of making a sale. The purpose of making a sale is to generate a customer, is to develop a customer, acquire a client. That's the purpose of making a sale. If you think the primary objective of making a sale is getting money, then you are confused, okay? So the primary objective is to acquire a customer. Why? Because when you acquire a customer, customers buy things, and they don't just buy one thing. How many of y'all have an iPhone? How many of you also have an iPad? How many of you also have a Mac? That's my point. Apple understands they are in the business of acquiring customers. They're not in the business of selling watches, phones, iPads, or computers. They are in the business of acquiring customers. And when they acquire a customer, if they have a loyal customer, they can show that customer anything they want. Apple, because of their ability to acquire customers and to wow those customers, they have taken over the music industry. They snatched it out of the hands of the record labels. Why? Because they understood what the business they were really in. So, advertising. The other way is branding. Now, advertising is a very short tail strategy. I can spend money on ads today. I can generate money from those ads today if the ad is good and the offer's good and the ad's not confusing or the offer's not confusing. What do I mean by that? So what happens is people will spend money on an ad. They'll put the ad in, and the ad will have a headline. It'll convert really well to clicks. Somebody clicks, if it's an online ad, they click on the ad, then they go to the web page, and what they see on the web page doesn't match what they saw on the ad, so they don't even know they're in the right place, so they bounce. So whatever colors you use on your ads, make sure you use those same colors on your opt-in page or on your sales page. When they land on the page from the advertising, you have to show them they are in the right place. It starts there. Okay? Advertise a short tail strategy because you can spend money on ads today and generate money today. Branding's a long tail strategy. But the long tail is the strong tail. Okay? It's really interesting that I believe, anyway, the number one reason Elon Musk is the richest person in the world is because he attached his businesses to his personal brand. What is a brand? A brand is a name that reminds you of a story. I'm going to say that again. A brand is a name that reminds you of a story. And if the story is a really good story, you'd be happy to pay to see yourself in that story. Why do people buy? If you believe that adding their story to your story will elevate your status, you'll add their story to your story. Are y'all tracking? So that's why that's why real estate agents, like a lot of real estate agents will drive Mercedes. Because that brand elevates their real estate brand, and it also shows their clients that they don't need the money, even though it probably means that they really do need the money. but it makes them, they don't need me. They're already successful without me, so therefore they're not selling me this house because they need the money. So branding. A brand is a story, a name that reminds you of a story. That's why the Bible says a good name is rather to be chosen than apples of gold and pitchers of silver. Like a name, the name is everything, right? What is a Rolls Royce? It's Henry Rolls and whatever the other guy's name was, Royce. What is a Bentley? Somebody who invented cars whose last name was Bentley. Same thing with Mercedes. Louis Vuitton is somebody's name, right? Air Jordan, somebody's name. People wear Jordans. Why? Because they're going to be able to dunk like Michael Jordan used to back in the 80s? No. It just elevates their brand, right? And we all do it. We all do it. So here's one of the primary objectives for business. Build a personal brand. Take as much time as is required. Like start today building your personal brand. Create a name that when somebody says your name, people think, oh, that's the person who helps people do X, Y, Z and is the best in the world at ABC, right? So branding. For me, like I used to think people talked about branding because they didn't know how to sell, right? You're just talking about branding because you're not good at sales, right? Well, I grew up and I learned how wrong I was, okay? The last part about promotions, because this is one of the biggest parts of your promotion that most people miss. Fulfillment. Fulfilling. Okay, fulfilling. Fulfilling on what? Fulfilling on the promise that your brand made so that your brand goes this way instead of going that way. Because you are developing a reputation, whether you're doing it intentionally or accidentally, you are developing a reputation every time you sell something. When you don't deliver on the promise, you are becoming known as the person who takes people's money and you don't keep your word. So, fulfilling on the promises. Now, that's the A of revenue generation. What's the B? Well, the B is I have a magic blackboard, and so I can make things smaller. Okay, what's B? B is marketing. Marketing is so, and I know you don't dot your E's, but I dot my E's, so judge somebody else. Okay, so marketing, what's marketing? Most people think marketing and advertising are the same thing. They're not. I believe that the mistake most people make in marketing is that they think that marketing is giving out information about their company, about their brand, about their product. I believe that marketing is gathering information. Marketing is the art and science of discovering and developing in other people a desire for more and more of your product, your service, or your opportunity. So, marketing is when I put out a lead magnet, like I'm going to give you a free checklist on the things to avoid to keep this from happening, and then you give me your name and email address and phone number. I did marketing because you gave me your name, email, and phone number. Why? Because when you do good marketing, it gives you control over the next point of contact. That's why marketing is imperative, which is not the same as branding. When I'm doing branding, and I'm doing advertising, I don't necessarily have control over the next point of contact. But when I do marketing and I'm building my email list, I'm building my customer database, when I get your information, I did good marketing. Because now I can let you know, now I don't have to pay somebody. Once I start doing marketing and I've got an email list, I don't have to pay an advertiser to put me in front of their audience. All I have to do is send out an email to the audience who's already opted in. Does that make sense? Okay, so marketing. The last one, skill in the revenue generation, is selling. Most people are not good at selling, and I dotted the E again. Okay, so most people are not good at selling. Selling is uncovering the value of what you have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money they have in their pocket for the value you've revealed. So you have to get good at describing the payoff of your offer. Notice I did not say you got to get good at describing your product. Most people who are terrible at sales, one of the reasons they're terrible at sales is because they're really good at talking about their product, and nobody cares. And they're really good at talking about their process, and nobody cares. In fact, when you tell them about your process, now you've reverse sold them. You've sold them on not buying. Why? Because as soon as you start breaking down the process, they think it's hard. And they think it's too hard for them, and they excuse themselves out of it. Like, can you imagine if you went to the gym and they said, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make you run until you feel like your legs are gonna fall off. And then you're gonna lift weights and your arms are gonna be sore for months at a time. And your back's gonna hurt, and every time when you wake up, you just wish somebody would put you out of your misery. And that's only gonna last for 3 months, right? What kind of presentation is that? Because every day we're gonna do 15 sets of these and 30 sets of those, and they're like, I think I'll just stay fat. Right? You don't show people the process. The process talks them out of it. You sell the payoff. You sell them what they want, and you deliver what they need. It'll change the game for you. And so, don't sell your product. Don't sell your process. Don't sell your pieces. Well, we have all of these little pieces of minutia that you get to manage. Nobody cares. And don't sell your person. Hey, a lot, especially you coaches and consultants out there, you get 70,000 hours of my time. I won't have any left, but you can have it all for $150 an hour. Oh, no, stop it. Stop selling your person. The person's gonna pay you, they want one thing. They only want one thing. There's one thing they're looking for. They're looking for a transformation. Something in their life is painful. They want to turn that pain into pleasure. When they pay you, they want your thing to turn their pain into pleasure. That's all you should be talking about. How right now you got this pain. Every time you look at your checkbook, it's mad at you. You don't want it to be mad at you. You want it to be happy with you. So I'm going to show you how to make more money. Every time you step on a scale, the scale tells you off. You don't want the scale to tell you off. I'm going to show you how to get in shape so every time you step on your scale start clapping for you. Now, we know that the scales don't clap. But if you described it like that, people would get the picture and they would understand the feeling they're going to have when they buy the thing you're selling them. Right? When I teach you how to write this book, if you're a book writing coach, you're going to sell 500 books a month. And you're gonna sell 500 books a month for $20 a piece, and that's gonna bring in $10,000 a month. And that's on the front end. And then I'm gonna show you how to do upsells on the back end. It's gonna bring in another $10,000 a month. Oh my goodness. But all you gotta do is get this book done and get it done the specific way I show you, and it's gonna become a bestseller. Like what? I'm telling you, before I ever wrote Trash Man to Cash Man, but when I first wrote it, it was called The Ebony Treasure Man. Like literally the month before I wrote that book, I went to Mark Victor Hansen's mega book marketing empire seminar. It was 5 days. It was in Orlando. I lived in Pennsylvania. I spent $18,000 on the event and stuff I bought at the event so I could figure out how to become a best-selling author. I was serious. I wasn't playing. I think I'd like to be no, this was not I think I'd like to be. This was, I'm fixing to do this. Oh, and I'm running out of time. Wow, I can't believe this. Man, I wish I would listen faster. Okay, anyway, I said, I spent $18,000 learning how to become an author. Guess what? My first week, when I published the book, the first week, I sold 900 copies at $20 a piece. That's $18,000, my first week as an author. I mean, that was more books in a week than I sell a month now. I mean, because I guess I had some pinned up demand, right? Pinned up demand. But now, I mean, we sell $30,000 to $40,000 worth of books a month. Stuff I wrote a long time ago. Last book I wrote was 2 years ago. So, selling, okay. So, that's the second one. So let me give you the last skill. So we talked about product innovation, we talked about revenue generation, now we're gonna talk about asset allocation. Okay, so when it comes to asset allocation, this is, ooh, that's a cool color. Now I'm gonna change again. Asset allocation. Asset allocation, what is that? Well, it's number one, it's your pricing. Like, what is your payment pricing? What's your payment pricing? How much are you gonna sell the thing for? I'm gonna tell you what, 90% of entrepreneurs that I coach get that part wrong. You know why they get it wrong? Because they copy somebody that they think is in the same business as them, and so they make their price the same as their, quote, competitor's price. That's why I don't have any competitors. I charge more than everybody who thinks they're my competition. Notice what I said. I charge more than everybody who thinks they're my competition. I don't make the mistake of thinking they're mine. You ain't competing with me. You got your little, anyway. You got me confused with Byron Silver. Okay. So, no offense, Byron, whoever you are. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so your payment pricing, payment processing. Your payment processing. So, well, one of the things you want to do in the beginning, you want to give them as many ways as possible to pay. So you got some startup businesses, they don't take credit cards. Are you out of your mind? Are you insane? Like, do you hate money? You don't take credit cards? Like, that's how I pay for almost everything. That's how most people pay for almost everything. You don't take credit cards? You got to take credit cards. And not only should you, would I recommend that you take credit cards, because I don't have shoulds for other people, but I would recommend that you take credit cards, and I would recommend that you have some kind of way of setting up automated payments on a credit card so people don't have to send you money every month and have to remember to do it. Okay, payment processing. You want to get set up with a merchant account. Maybe that's Stripe, maybe that's NMI, maybe that's whoever. But you want to get set up with a payment processor. So if I don't know you, I'll take cash. I personally don't like receiving payments in PayPal, so you can't pay me in PayPal. You want to pay me in PayPal? Pay somebody else in PayPal, because PayPal ain't my pal. Okay? PayPal is the devil. Anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. I don't even have time to go into it. But if you do not want PayPal to be your primary payment processor. I'm telling you, they are going to jack you sideways at their first opportunity, and then they'll keep on doing it because they know you'll put up with it. Okay, all right. I just tell everybody, they're the devil. Okay, payment processing. So now, in my business, and I've got to wrap it up. In my business, the maximum amount I allow people to pay on a credit card is $2,000. Everything after that is a wire transfer or an ACH transfer. Why? I don't have time to go into why. But there's this department inside of every merchant processing company, every Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they have this department called risk management. And you got some $15 an hour person in there deciding whether or not you are scamming people, because they can't understand a business generating $700,000 a month. And so they automatically think you're scamming people anyway, just because you're doing revenue, right? So if somebody, plus everybody's not scrupulous. Some people are unscrupulous. Some people will buy your stuff, use it, pay for it on a credit card, and then tell the company that you never sent it to them. If you want to do that with $2,000, more power to you, baby. But you ain't going to do it with $20,000, not with me, because I don't take $20,000 on a credit card. Okay, there you go. So there's that. And then lastly is payment collecting. Like, okay, here's all I'm going to say about payment collecting. I would recommend highly that if you sell a product that is like, and you're going to be the bank and you're going to finance it for people, like sometimes we'll do like in our $55,000 coaching program, we let people pay half down, and then we do an ACH bank draft for $510 a week, right? But I'm not just going to do the whole thing on payment on ACH, and I'm also not going to do the whole thing on credit card payments. Like, I never want the payments to run out, to go longer than the coaching program or the product that I sold. So that's payment collecting. When you develop these business skills, they can make you millions upon millions of dollars. So I hope this helps. Stay blessed by the best, and I'll see you in the next video.